we were already late, and I didn't realize that you were going to have headphone issues this morning. So let's redo it as if nothing ever happened. Here we go.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Thursday. We've made it almost through the week. Looking forward to it. John, the producer, is here. Looks like you guys are here in abundance as well, already lighting up the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Holy cow. Tony V, haven't seen you in a minute. George Clooney. Mike, welcome aboard for us. Ross, Howie, Jesse, everybody's on. Man, you guys are on early today. JB. Man, I'm going. Pete is on early. Holy smokes. Larry. Tim, Robert. Make sure I don't miss anybody, Bobby. Man, you guys, Ed, Dwayne, all over it. They've got it lit up today. What's on your mind? What's going on? Everybody waiting to see what happens next for Indiana basketball, I know. But until then, we've got to carrying on. A little 5 weekend at Indian and Bloomington, which means I'm probably going to be staying the hell away from downtown. Bloomington swells to 3 times its size during Little 500 weekend, the world's greatest college weekend. I did not see OG last night. What did he do? Did he go off? Do you have a big game? Get me the info, man. I was not able to watch. But was that the game where he took one to the rack and just put it down? And I'm like, look at OG. I don't know if that's the move you were talking about. Big shot Rob is heading to Cincinnati. Well, good for him. He is, Mike Roberts is on that staff. So there's some comfort and familiarity there. They're playing in what? They still play in the AAC, right?
It'll be in the AAC for one more season, I believe.
Just one more.
Before they make their move to the Big 12.
The Dexter Dennis reply on Twitter to shooting thirsty IU fans was awesome. He likes the kid swagger. I didn't see that. What was the response? What was said? OG went off for 26 last night. Yeah, how about him? He's fun to watch. Dexter Dennis completed his visit at IU. And I was having that discussion last night with someone, and it just trying to figure out. They're still talking to people. They're still talking to Dexter Dennis. They're talking to Sean McNeil, and they're doing that without having an open spot, which tells me they have a contingency plan, or Trace has told them, hey, I'm probably not coming back. But your guess is as good as mine right now. And I don't try to work on guesses. I try to find things out. But right now, that's what we know. It's just a waiting game. Unless there is something else afoot. And I'm not saying that is the case, but it could happen. Someone like an Anthony Leal who lives here in Bloomington, much more recognizable. I could see a situation where they ask him to relinquish his scholarship, but it is met with some NIL in adjustments, for lack of a better word, to offset that. That's just a guess. But again, that's looking at a situation where currently they're at 13 scholarship players and still talking to a couple of guys to fill one more spot. And of course, but those two guys are talking to two different players. One's a scoring machine and the other one's a defending machine. So it's not like they're looking for a specific guy. John says Indiana is looking at guards. Hard to think it has anything to do with Trace. I agree. I agree. But, well, they've got Malik Renaud in the fold. So, but then someone has to move. There has to be movement. Someone has to open up a spot. OG 26 and what? I just missed that number. 26, 5, and 4. And an amazing block on the weak side. On Harden. It was called goaltending. Get out of here.
Another thing, Jim, we were talking about before we were able to get the show restarted, Jay Wright, Villanova's head coach, announced his retirement last night.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It blew my mind. I was like, really?
At 60 years old.
He doesn't want a part. I don't think he wants. And look at this Big Ten tournament. Again, that sucks right there.
Yeah.
Moving
to Indianapolis or Minneapolis, excuse me.
Jay Wright retiring. That blew my mind. He's, like you said, he's young but you know, as I quickly think about it, Villanova does not strike fear in the hearts of the NIL world. Unless they've got some big backers, which I know they've got some former players, but it's even though they've been very successful, I don't know that they can compete in this NIL world. And maybe he sees that coming, that it is completely changed and that Villanova may not be able to compete in that realm. I don't know. Maybe he's just tired. Maybe he's like, hey, man, I won 2 national titles in 3 years and I'm rolling. I'm done. Got my Hall of Fame status.
I agree. I think that's why you're kind of seeing this mass exodus of older coaches like, you know, Roy Williams last year, obviously Coach K this year. You got Jay Wright now. I think Tom Izzo can't be far behind. I think Jim Boeheim's going to retire as soon as his kids graduate because he's getting up there as well. That's obviously more of a different reason, but that's a whole generation of coaches that are on their way out potentially.
Did Schwebe get a $2 million deal?
Well, he did announce yesterday that he is returning to Kentucky. I'm sure that coincides with some massive NIL deals, but
absolutely.
Sure.
I was expecting that. He wasn't coming back for the hell of it. Because He's the National Player of the Year.
I'm curious how long it's been since the reigning National Player of the Year has returned for another season.
Great question. But Sheboy's coming back to Kentucky. That's going to make them number one without question. But Tim says that Sheboy has a brother that would be playing in the King of the Bluegrass tournament, which is a tournament down in Louisville. So you got, and I'm talking about this Baycott from North Carolina coming back. Kofi Coburn is going.
By the way, the last player to return that won National Player of the Year was North Carolina's Tyler Hansborough in 2008.
I agree with Derrick. That's why I've been saying what I've been saying. If the nation's best player is not a first-round pick and he's coming back, it's hard for me not to think that Trace Jackson Davis is coming back as well. But
Five Left's Luka Garza was Player of the Year last year, his last season. He was probably
I was going to mention Luka Garza. But that was a different situation. But and it worked out great for him. He's playing in the NBA.
Break.
We got to take a break. Lots more to come. Lots more to talk about. Lots more comments to get to as well. You guys are lighting up the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Looking forward to getting to it. We're brought to you, of course, by our good friends from the WOW Network and the WOW Club. It is a totally free app to sign up for. Start earning WOW rewards today. WOW Club members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and sent directly to your phone, like at places called Feast. Feast Market and Cellar, located next door to Southern and Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers, offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff. They take pairing seriously. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, and pastries. All mouth-watering. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting
So I'll remind you of this later, but we'll need to probably push the show, like the show timer, to the 2-hour mark today. Just because we had that first 4 minutes of figuring out what the hell was going on. And we reset.
Oh, you didn't stop and restart.
No, I would have had to drop out of this, make a whole new link, and people would have been confused, and it would have been a disaster, honestly. So what I'll do after the show is go in to YouTube settings, and I will edit out that whole first section of the show.
You know what? I think the earpods were dead.
It was weird because I could hear everything you were saying, and so could the commenters. But yeah, if you have to charge those things, that's probably the case then, I would say. I don't know if we're getting Matt Taylor today.
Wow.
I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say over there.
So man,
we got DJ at 9:30, and we'll have Chris at 9:50. So kind of a slow day, but it happens sometimes.
Let's see. Big Ten tourney to mini. I did not see that.
And they announced that, yes, it's the women's and the men's for one season, I think. So next year it's in Chicago.
That's horrific.
Next year it's in Chicago. The following year it's in Minneapolis.
That's horrific. But
I bet it's the beginning of rotating it around all the major Midwestern cities. I bet you'll see them go to like Philadelphia.
It's not a Midwestern city.
Yeah, it is. Penn State in that area.
Philadelphia is not considered the Midwest.
Well, I'm talking about Big Ten conference footprint, whether it's the Midwest or not. That's what I'm referring to.
Matt Taylor
Hey,
will
Matt.
tell you Philadelphia is not the Midwest.
In Philadelphia, it's worth $50. Any Trading Places reference right there?
Okay, look at you. I see you. See what you did.
That watch is so hot it's smoking.
Let's see what you did there. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. What's up with you?
Just living life, baby. Living the dream.
All right, let me go ahead and bring us back in.
TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday, brought to you by our good friends at Feast Market and Cellar, the Wild Club, and Andy Moore Honda. Welcome in our other good friend, Matt Taylor. Matt, the voice of the Colts. How are you, sir?
What's shaking? Where's Dustin?
Man, he's taking the day off. John, where is Dustin, by the way?
He has some personal matters to tend to, so yeah, he has taken the day off.
Personal matters.
Personal matters.
I never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, he's got it. It must be underwear shopping day.
It's laundry day. Got to figure it out.
Yeah, he's got to fold all of his underwear. No, but how are things going with you, man? Still in the off season, things moving around, life, little break for you. What's shaking?
No, it's busy. We're exactly 1 week from the draft. The draft starts this time next Thursday. I guess, Thursday evening, but in terms of movers and shakers and, people trying to avoid paralysis by analysis, that's what this time of year is all about. We had the offseason workout program start on Monday. We had players back in the building, media availability, talking to players and coaches yesterday. Talked with Ryan Kelly and Danny Penter, Quiddy Pay going into year number 2. They all spoke to the media yesterday. Frank Reich as well. So it's heating up, man. The first week of a 9-week off-season workout program for the Colts has begun this week. And that'll go until mid-June, and then that's really kind of the big time, quiet time of the NFL calendar between mid-June and the mini camp and the start of training camp. But there's plenty of the dialogue continues to progress, the narrative continues to roll on, and it's all about how can the Colts get better and improve and rebound from last year missing the playoffs, and where can they supplement in the draft. So plenty of storylines.
Yeah, I know that the quarterback situation obviously answered with Matt Ryan coming in. Getting some pieces around him has been the biggest consideration and concern.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to project, what the Colts are going to do in the draft because, as you said, Jack Doyle's retired, T.Y. Hilton's still a free agent, Zach Pascal left the team. He went to the Eagles in free agency. So, a lot of people are kind of shaking their heads saying, hey, when are the Colts going to supplement the skill player spots on offense? And I think that's what the draft is all about. It's hard to imagine, them going day 2 of the draft and not bringing in somebody that can catch some passes, whether that's a tight end or a wide receiver. But that being said, again, it's hard to project what the Colts are going to do because they don't have that first-round pick. They currently sit at 42, which is about 10 picks into the second round. And that being said as well, the Colts, they have not been shy over the years under Chris Ballard about making trades during the draft. In fact, since 2017, they've made 14 draft day trades, including one already this year with the trade for Matt Ryan. They gave up a 3rd-round pick to bring in the quarterback. So they've got 7 picks going into the draft, and with the moves they've made so far this season, Obviously, again, it's wide receiver, it's tackle, it's tight end. So those might be areas they address early on in the draft because receivers are aplenty in this draft, which is a good thing for the Colts. They might be able to address tight end later on in the draft because with Jack Doyle retiring, that, opens up a need for a versatile playmaking pass catcher to come in, but also somebody who can be an extension of the running game. And then at left tackle, the Colts like some of the players they're bringing back on the roster to man that important position at left tackle, but they need depth on their offensive line. Injuries always occur on the offensive line, and inevitably they're going to need some reliable players to make some spot starts next season and help protect Matt Ryan. So I think everything's on the table right now between tackle, receiver, and tight end, and we'll see how the first round unfolds and then, what that dictates to the Colts in the second round, if in fact they stay where they are right now at number 42 overall.
I like the DB that they met with apparently on Monday virtually. Smoke Monday.
There's a lot of interesting names in the draft. I think this might be an all-timer for draft names. You got Smoke Monday, you got Sauce Gardner. There's a couple of,
I hadn't heard that one.
Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, he tweeted out that, he's a corner, and he tweeted out that he's the best player in the draft. So I don't know if that's true, but you like his confidence, and that's why these guys get paid so much money, to sift through all the BS and, deal with all the smoke screens and make their own evaluation of these guys and stack their board. And that's why, if you do this thing right, if you put in all the time and the work and all the organization in the months of, February and March and early April, the draft should be easy. You should have no problems drafting because you should have your board already stacked. And then when it's your time to pick, when you're on the clock, your cards and your board should dictate, who you go, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of deliberation. Now you might have to, like in the case of the Colts, like I just said, when you're at 42 overall, there might be a little bit of a conflict in terms of, hey, we got the second best or third best tackle versus the 4 or 5 best wide receiver. And then it's kind of like a Cincinnati equation last year, right? They were picking high in the draft, and they had a decision to make on Penei Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon, versus Jamar Chase out of LSU. Obviously, we all know they went with Chase, and I think that has sort of set a precedent on, hey, would the Bengals have been in the Super Bowl without Jamar Chase? I mean, absolutely not, right? So it's the playmaking wide receiver versus the stud offensive tackle. Now it's not as easy as that every single time, but in the case of the Colts, since they do need help and depth in both areas, they will have a decision to make, because I think there's going to be viable candidates to draft at both spots when they're on the clock, first overall, or 42nd overall, I should say, with their first pick in the second round.
Looking forward to that as it goes forward and seeing how that rolls out. Indiana just the Hoosiers wrapped up their spring practice.
Who's playing quarterback?
Without a peep. We knew nothing. We were given no access other than some weekly virtual meetings. So I don't know is the answer to that question.
I mean, I hate to boil it down as a fan to something so basic, but I mean, if you watch the games last year, I mean, I thought that was a bowl team last year had they had adequate quarterback play.
Yep.
I'm not saying they go 8-4, but I think they would have reached 6 wins had they had competent quarterback play, and they didn't get it last year. And so that's, not to oversimplify things, but it really it all boils down to that, because the offense last year was just so tough to watch.
Yeah, I think the exact same thing. I think back and I'm like, just shake my head and look at what they could have accomplished. But I think part of people have asked me why, and I think a big part of the reason is because expectations were so high last year, and rightfully so, and that they pushed that mantra as well. And then to see the biggest egg dropped of all time, they kind of are trying to get away from any expectations at all, I think.
Well, they had a lot going against them. And again, I'm not pretending to be as close to the program as you, but from the outside looking in, I mean, quarterback play was not very good. It was inconsistent from the get-go with Michael Penix, and then the injury to him, and then the injury, to two other guys, and then you had a true freshman coming in. That's just no good for anybody. I thought the offensive line took a major step back last year, which contributed to the quarterback position looking so unstable. The defense did not stop the run nearly as good as they did the year before. They did not take the football away nearly as often as they did in 2020. Also, too, and we talked about this in the past, when you're a program like Indiana coming off three really good seasons, when you factor in 18, 19, and 20, guess what? You're no longer the hunter. You're the hunted. You got a little bit of a bullseye on your back a little bit, right? And also, in 20, Penn State didn't have its best team. Michigan didn't have its best team. You competed very well against Ohio, which contributes to, the bullseye on your back a little bit. But my point is, just because, you're able to get a few marquee wins, you're not going to erase 40 and 50 years of program tradition. Just like in the case of Indiana, you're not going to implement 40 and 50 years of program tradition and momentum in 3 years. It's going to take time. I mean, for those that thought Indiana was just going to continuously and annually beat Michigan and Penn State because they'd done it one time, that's not how this works. So plus you had fans back in the stands last year, and anytime Indiana played on the road, that overwhelmed them. So it was just kind of a perfect storm for a 1-win season or a 2-win season.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they come back this year with a schedule that is just brutal. It's as tough as I've seen in a minute. As a matter of fact, someone either told me
it's always going to be brutal until they get rid of the divisions. It's always going to be brutal.
And then you add a road game to Cincinnati on that, off a non-conference road game to Cincinnati.
Right.
Makes it even tougher, baby.
Right. That's why I said last year when I was on your show, we were talking about expectations, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but you were like 9 wins. And I said, 9 wins. Let's just get to 6. Get to 6. We're not there yet.
Oh, fell under it. I got sucked in. Still don't understand what happened. Well, I've got an idea, but anyway, how about these NIL deals that are going on now? $8 million potential $8 million quarterback. Just saw Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky is going to have what looks to be a $2 million deal to come back.
It's insane. I mean, all of these guys making more money in college, to come back than they would potentially make on rookie deals, whether that's in the NBA or in the NFL. Anybody that didn't see this coming, I don't know how naive, you were. I mean, you're basically getting paid to take a scholarship and you can't compete with it. You can't compete with the Alabamas of the world and the Clemson of the world. I mean, basically you've got donors saying, I want to do an NIL deal with you and just pick whatever it is to make T-shirts or put your face or your name on bumper stickers. And that should net you whatever that typically makes. But instead they're just equating that to, I'm going to give you $8 million and we're going to do a quote unquote NIL deal to make T-shirts. Like those two things don't balance out, but that's what it is. You're just taking money to go to the school that I want you to do an NIL deal with. So I don't know how you feel about it, but just from an outsider, it's a little bit, it's disturbing, and I don't know if it's good for the game. It's put a lot of people into the equation that shouldn't be into the equation, and I don't know if it's a turnoff to other people. To me, it's kind of trending that way because of how dirty and creepy it's become.
Professional. It's like professional. Worse.
But it's almost worse because
worse.
There's no, at least in the NFL, there is a rookie wage scale that does not exist in this realm.
The sneaky element. Yeah. There's the sneaky element with the college NIL deal. That's the funny thing is.
No doubt about it.
Everything's in. Well, brother, I hope everything's going well with the family.
Everybody's great. Yep, I appreciate it. Yeah, I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. 5-year-old's getting wrap up preschool, and then it's on to kindergarten. So onward and upward.
Sounds great, brother. Hope you enjoy the spring.
What spring?
Exactly. We haven't had one. It's a little,
Right,
and it's a little 500 week.
Well, I think it's going to be 80 on Saturday. So that's a 22-year-old's. That's a dream come true right there on a college campus towards the end of the second semester.
Mind-boggling, probably. It's going to be nuts.
Indeed. Indeed.
Matt Taylor here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We appreciate him as always.
All right, man. Be well. Thank you.
Have a great day. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here, brought to you by our good friends at Feast Market and Cellar and the Wild Network. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
You have 1 minute, Jim. $30 seconds.
Because you get the best deals. And right now, it's the Certified Dream Deal Sales Event. Get 0.99% APR financing for well-qualified buyers on all 2017 through 2021 Honda Certified Pre-Owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends at Courtroom Sports Grill, that prides itself on providing their guests with fresh, innovative dishes designed to please your palate and your wallet. Every item on their menu is made from scratch using only the freshest ingredients. It's a great place to catch a game or just meet up with a friend. We'll see you in the dining room because we'll guarantee you'll like it. And speaking of Courtroom Sports Grill, they are bringing you the 4th annual Crawfest, sponsored by Courtroom Sports Grill. Join us for the annual Crawfest, May 13th and 14th at the Harp Commons in downtown Bedford. This year's event is headlined by country superstar and Hoosier native Clayton Anderson. planning for this to be Bedford's biggest crawfest ever, with the biggest crawfish boil, complete with a beer garden stocked with local craft brews, live music Friday and Saturday, and fun for the entire family. Where else can you get all you can eat, listen to live music, enjoy it all on beautiful Southern Indiana spring night? Kick off summer early. For more information, just go to the Courtroom Sports Grill Facebook page. You can see the cost and all of that stuff. Looking forward to that. Hopefully it warms up. What's going to warm up this weekend and then back down and then back up next weekend. But yeah, like Matt said, what spring? It's been a weird. I mean, even our usually we have more warm days, at least. It's more of a roller coaster. Hasn't been much of a up on the deal, but yeah, basketball tournament, Big Ten basketball tournament moving to Minnesota. I am not happy about that at all, but Jennifer pointed out something that caught my eye that made total sense. And I've lost it, but it was talking about the fact that Kevin Warren, there you go, the former CEO for the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, why the hell? Why the hell? I mean, Chicago is as far north as this thing needs to go. What is the point of taking this to Minneapolis? Yeah, I'm not at all happy about that. Of course, no, being someone who resides in Indiana, of course, I'd rather see it in Indianapolis or even Chicago for that matter. But gee whiz. That's yeah, the football. I don't see the football moving anywhere. It's just too perfectly set. It's in an NFL stadium. I think that the football championship, not to say it would never move, but I think the basketball should always be in Indianapolis. It just should. But with the Big Ten being in Chicago, they're going to try to pull it up there. I like the media days both being in Indianapolis. That was phenomenal. I'm sure they'll move that around as well. But, man, I love that. The Amani Bates visit, where is he visiting? Good question there. Bill says UK players will have to take a pay cut to go the NBA from this point on. Most probably have in the past anyway. Robert says if the coach don't fix the offensive line, give the quarterback some receivers, they'll see a repeat of a repeat. Yeah, you got that right. You got that right. It's like Indiana football, though. Their O-line has got to produce, man. They have to produce. Derrick points out that Sweetway said yesterday if he was a lottery pick, he would have left. Said he wasn't. Even a first rounder was best for him to come back. Yes, the National Player of the Year. That's basically right there what I am basing Trace Jackson Davis coming back for. I'm not saying he's getting a $2 million NIL deal, and I'm not saying he's worth it. But he's going to get – I think he has more money available to him via the NIL situation than he would by going professional in any capacity, whether that is via Europe, the G League, etc. Now, I think he makes I think he makes more money than he could if he was in Europe next year. And unless you're in the top league over there, I think those guys cap out around 300,000 or so. So he can get that in Indiana without having to go overseas. And play in college, play college basketball one more time, and be on the best team he's ever been on in college. So I just think that there are a lot of things that point to him coming back. But the biggest thing is where is he going to go? I mean, I don't want to be like the Reds owner Castellini. Where you got to go? But where's he going to go? I do not see a path to the NBA via the draft for him, not this season. Tony says this is the first he's heard of what NIL money that we're talking about. His jaw's on the floor. Yeah, brother, if you're just getting to the party, NIL is nothing different than free agency in sports. It is the same thing with one caveat. At least in professional sports, free agency, you're signed to a contract with the team. This NIL situation does not and cannot tie you to a team/school. That way it cannot be an inducement, quote unquote. But yes, the numbers, Tony, are going to continue to rise as these stories get out. Texas A&M has a $25 million war chest, mostly geared towards football, of course. But if you think that they're not going to use that to try to compete in basketball as well, I think you're wrong. Those schools that can really drive that number up, it starts to play on itself. It's a lot easier when you're a big-time football school like a Texas A&M to spill over and fund the basketball program because it doesn't take quite as much. Indiana's in a different situation because it's not the football program here it's not the engine of the train. It's the basketball program. And it's not going to bring in, there's not going to be nearly as much spillover. If you know what I mean. The Hoosiers for Good, trying to spread it out. But I assure you, the bulk of money, as it should, is going to go to Indiana men's basketball players because that is the engine that drives the train. This is not about and people want to talk about equality. How is this not equal? It's real life, people. It's real life. You do not go into a job and get paid X just because you or a specific sex or whatever the case is. You get paid to do a job and your value to do that job, whether your value is by pulling in more views, by being much more well-known, being on a much more well-known program. There's all the things that go into that. Facts are just facts. It's not about being unequitable. So, but also I think this is the opportunity for Indiana basketball to get their program back to where they've wanted it to get it to. Because you've got to have elite talent, and they have not been able to get elite talent in bunches and at the time that they needed it. They'll be in as good a position if Trace Jackson Davis remains, as I suspect he does. They'll be in as good a position next year as they have been since, 2013? I mean, you've got to go back almost a decade and that team was better. They were number one in the country, but they haven't. I don't think you've had a team since then that, I know in 2016 they won the Big Ten, but or was it 15? I forget. But this team is set up to be what you need it to be. You've got the highest recruiting class since back in those days. And that has to translate to the floor. Indiana should be a dangerous team next year, but I still think they need to land. I think they need Sean McNeil. I really do. That's the final missing piece. You add a Sean McNeil, just a flat-out shooter, man, well, you've got everything pretty covered. You've got a very experienced point guard, which that is critical. Critical. And that's another reason why Xavier's not going anywhere. But you're going to have a good replacement in the 2 spot with Jalen Hood-Schifino. I think he is going to play extremely well. He is level-headed. And it's going to be interesting to see what Malik Reneau, how he's used with Race and Trace if they're both here. He's different from Trace. He's not a shot blocker, but he does like to score down low on the blocks. A good passer. You got a guy that can knock down shots. He could be the guy to get the ball back out. Indiana get that game going. Opens up the entire offense. Then you open up things for Xavier getting to the rim. You open up mid-range shooting for Jalen Hood-Schifino. It's just a game changer for Indiana having the right pieces. And they're on the precipice of having that. I want to make sure we haven't gone over it. Kenneth thinks they're entering the golden age of college basketball. A new golden age. Well, I don't know if it's a golden age, but it's certainly a new age without question. Because the changes we've seen are changes that will never go away. The transfer portal, while it may be changed at some point in the years to come, it's not going away. NIL will never go away. Well, he thinks better players, better teams, better games. He's got a point there. And I think that was part of what Rick Bozich was talking about yesterday. Having these players in the game longer because it's gotten watered down. You know, the one and done, the guys that come in, play for a year and leave. It is going to make the college game better. Now, it's not going to make it better for everybody, though. It's going to make it better for the haves. Kentucky, how many teams have the ability to get a guy paid $2 million? Very few. So the haves and the have-nots are still going to be separated. Don't kid yourself. Indiana's not a have-not. They're up in that same game. They're a have. It's going to be interesting to see just across the Big Ten the changes and how it affects what teams are able to take advantage, maintain. Yeah, I don't see a team like Michigan State. I don't see them having a problem. You've still got Tom Izzo, and that carries weight. Consistency. But they also have enough pro players. They have enough. You're in Michigan. There's enough money up there. That shouldn't be a problem. Purdue is in good shape now. And I know I saw that they've got theirs up and running. I don't know much about it. But yeah, these teams are going to all have to come on board. That's the only way a Minnesota or a Nebraska is probably going to be able to compete in basketball in the Big Ten. They're going to have to utilize the transfer portal and the NIL situation. On the flip side, I wonder, and I've talked about, Robert says IU football will have a good team 15 years or so. Oh, every 15 years or so. Otherwise, it's 2 to 3 wins a season. I really wonder. I think NIL is going to keep Indiana football in the place that they have been accustomed to being, outside of the Big Four on the eastern side of the conference. They were already so far behind that Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. I think NIL is going to create even more separation between those 4 teams in the division, without question. And it makes me wonder what Indiana football will be able to do. They'll just have to give the old college try, but it's going to be very, very difficult, I think, for Indiana football to compete in the Big Ten over the next few years with this NIL deal, because let's be honest, there's just not the love by the fans of the football program that there is for the basketball. It's just pure and simple. And that means there's not going to be the giving, et cetera, which does not allow you to land the big names.
Break.
But maybe just landing a big enough name along the way, a big time quarterback will be enough, and to change that mantra. So, we'll see. Lots of ways to talk about it. Plenty more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat. Of course, brought to you by our good friends at Courtroom Sports Grill down in Bedford, where they will be hosting the 4th annual Crawl Fest, sponsored by Courtroom Sports Grill. Join us at the annual Crawl Fest. It's May 13th and 14th at the Harp Commons in downtown Bedford. This year's event is headlined by country superstar and Hoosier native Clayton Anderson. They're planning for this to be Bedford's biggest crawfest ever, biggest crawfish boil around, beer garden stocked with local craft brews, live music Friday and Saturday, fun for the entire family. So that's coming up in not too far away. Looking forward to it. Hey, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
DJ was in the green room a second ago, but he fell off for some reason.
I got my headphones on now, by the way.
Oh, good. Were they working, I guess?
No, they were not charged.
Oh.
They were, I don't know why. Whoa, whoa.
Oh, there we go. Hey, DJ.
Hey, man, I don't know what just happened there, man, but it just clicked off on me, man. How you guys doing, man?
We are doing well. We're doing well. How are you?
Good, man. Well, just enjoying this weather down here, and just got something exciting to talk about for a minute there with you guys in the state of Indiana, man. 239 is representing again, so
oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys, yeah, man. You guys follow the WNBA, man. So yeah. So other than that, man, I mean, hey, life is good, man. I cannot wait to get up there, man, for the season. The spring looked like it went really well, so we'll see what happens, man.
One thing, and don't answer yet, but I'm sure Jim will ask you during when we're live. Your thoughts on not having a public spring season, so they couldn't go to the spring game. Media or fans couldn't attend any of that stuff. So I'm sure Jim will want your thoughts on that. Just a heads up.
Yeah. That too. That crossed my mind. So yeah, I love to talk about that for a minute as well. But other than that, man, how you doing? How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. I hate these rainy days. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
It rains. It's raining here right now, and I feel like it rains here a lot, but it brings me down. I used to like the rain, but it makes it tough to get the day going for me.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you wake up
in the rain.
Hey, Jill, man, don't quit your day job, brother, man. Don't quit your day job.
I ain't got warmed up yet, man.
Uh-oh. Look like you and John Mellencamp, man, ought to get together, man, and make a hit.
As a black man with a black cat living in a black neighborhood, he's got a
hey man, whatever
running
send me some of that coffee you drinking, man. I need some of that coffee you drinking, man. All right.
Home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Thursday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're in the home or in the market for a home in the Indy area, reach out to Cheryl Sizemore. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com. Welcome aboard, our good friend Derrick Jackson. DJ, what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Just excited to be here, and was just following. I was just telling John about WNBA. Got an exciting player from the 239 right here in Fort Myers. You guys drafted her at number 20, Destiny Henderson, the point guard out of South Carolina, right here in 239. Man, excited about that for the Indiana Fever.
He's on it. Didn't they have like 4 top 15 picks or something?
South Carolina probably did.
No. The Indiana team. I think they had like
yeah. They did. I don't know, Jim, if you ever get up there to cover it, man, I'd be more than glad to get Destiny Henderson on the show, man. Like I said, man, her father and I were really good friends. Seen her ever since she was a little girl. She did really well here in Fort Myers High School, so excited about that PG coming out of South Carolina, man. But they did have a lot of picks, though.
The Hawkeyes, University of Iowa Hawkeyes, are looking for input. They want a new song for one of the best traditions in college sports, the Hawkeye Wave. That's goes on in between, what is it, the first and second quarters, when everybody waves to the Children's Hospital behind them, which is very cool to have been able to take part of that. But I didn't remember. I couldn't hear that they had a song. So I'm in the press box. Since you're in a tomb in there, you can't hear anything. So I didn't know that they had a song for it. It's accompanied by Pat Green's song "Wave on Wave."
Is that like their kind of like mascot song, or what? I mean,
yeah, it's walk-up music, lack of a better word. The theme music for it. That Wave on Wave is playing while everybody is waving to the kids.
Okay, I got you.
But apparently they've grown tired of it, and they're looking for a new song. So there you can help them with that.
Don't think I can help them with that one.
Yeah, I don't have a thought coming to mind quick enough. But there's that. How's everything going with you?
Hey, everything's going well, man. I was just a little, we were also talking about the no public practice. I'm sorry, no public participation of the fans during spring practice. That right there, man. That kind of, I didn't like that, to be honest with you. I did not like that for a number of different reasons. I mean, you have a lot of fans that, spend a lot of their money supporting the program. actually, buying season tickets, doing other things behind the scenes. And then, I don't understand the philosophy behind closing the spring practice. I really don't.
Well, I mean, it was completely closed. We had zero access in the fall. I can't remember how long, but we're out at fall practice for a good 3 weeks, probably, maybe even a month, we didn't see a lick of nothing. And I expected to be able to go to the scrimmage, nothing. So it's kind of odd. It's not kind of odd. It's odd. A,
it is odd. Yeah.
And B, it makes me wonder. I'm like, okay, if you're going to do this, you better come out. You better damn well come out firing all 6 chambers, baby.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's like, what the hell? But a lot of pressure on Tom Allen after probably the biggest and there's been a lot of disappointments for Indiana football, but last year probably had to be maybe the biggest disappointing year in the history of the program.
Yeah. I know that the pressure's there. I do understand, how he feels at that level. However, you got to remember, a lot of excitement comes from your fan base, comes from your alumni, comes from the media, and the players. There's a time to embrace it, and there is a time to shut it off. But to completely close it, shut it down, like you said, maybe you have something you're focusing on, but you know what, keep your program involved in the public as well. Keep everybody involved. Not that everybody needs to know your business and how you run your program, but at least make the players feel like there's people out there that support them, that love them, and want to see them be successful.
And there's still a lot of people that want to see this program survive and thrive. Right. I mean, I'm one of them. I want to see it survive and thrive. It's a hell of a lot more fun when they're winning. I promise you. But I mentioned in the previous segment, Derrick, I wonder if NIL, while I think it is going to be a boon to Indiana basketball, I think it's going to help quickly get them back to being the Indiana of old.
Right.
I'm wondering if it's going to have the same effect on Indiana football, but unfortunately that's having them remain as Indiana football of old because of the separation that's already there between Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State. And now those schools are all football schools,
right?
And Indiana is a basketball school. So they're already have more money coming in for NIL. I would be pretty certain on that end when it comes to feeding the football, because I'll guarantee you 80% of the NIL money has went out for Hoosiers for good. And I'm not knocking them in any way, but it is going to be towards men's basketball. Right. And that's the difference. And I don't think that Indiana is going to be able to compete between those. I think it's going to keep them where they are. And that's another reason why unless the Big Ten doesn't go to an 8-game conference schedule, I think it is going to be extraordinarily difficult for Indiana to get back into bowl games. It's going to be like it was in the 90s. I mean, it's in the early 2000s. It's going to be that churn of 4 and whatever, 4 and 8, 5 and 7, maybe.
Yeah. One thing doesn't change, and the players have to embrace this themselves. Intestinal fortitude, the desire to compete, the desire to win, that doesn't change. I mean, NIL, AIL, PIL, DIL, whatever you have out. I mean, I do understand. You know what I'm saying? When money comes into play, it changes people. It makes people think. But man, these guys got to have that fire. And like I've been, trying to pitch to Coach Allen, that fire, that desire, that will to win, that will to compete, that will to. When you look across and you see that different color jersey, and you want to dominate and you want to win. You need that support. Don't shut off players, former players, alumni from boosting these guys up. And I am, Coach Allen, hey, I every time I'm on here, I encourage you. Listen, I will come up and I will do everything I can to help motivate this team and get this thing back on track. I know you guys are doing a very, very good job. Coaching staff, hey, Coach Bell came in doing an excellent job. Hey, listen, man, we need to get this program back to where it was and not let NIL be the deciding factor of our, for where we can be successful or where it puts us on a track to our own demise,
Yeah, I don't want to see college football become Major League Baseball, where it's the Los Angeles Dodgers, it's the New York Yankees, it's the certain teams that make the most money and that can pay the most money.
Right, exactly.
I wish that there was a salary cap, and I can't believe that's not even something that I've considered, but professional teams have salary caps. Should college teams have salary caps? I mean,
what's the difference now? Let me ask you that. You said professional teams have salary caps.
Some of them do. Some sports.
But what's the difference though? College football is now it's now a professional organization. These guys are getting paid to play. There's no more no more amateurism in this thing, right?
No.
It's no more of that, man. You guys, listen, they're coming out of high school. These guys are coming out of high school with $1 million NIL deals, man. Out of high school. And they haven't played a down of college football yet.
But that's like saying a kid that is a brainiac that comes out of high school and goes to work for IBM and is able to do that. I mean, but yeah, it's crazy. But it is what it is, and it's here.
Right.
So it has to be dealt with. And but I wonder. I mentioned Texas A&M reportedly has a war chest of $25 million already built up. All right. Well,
probably so.
And that's probably, I don't know if that's just for football or if that's overall, but football is their driving train.
Right.
Without question. They're in the SEC.
Right. Exactly.
They're paying their football coach almost $8 million a year. So you think they don't care? Hell yes, they care. They want to win. Yeah. So they're going to do whatever it takes to win.
Texas always have. Texas football has always.
But that's the difference. That's what I'm talking about. It's going to be the same for the Michigans and the Ohio States. And I mean, the kid that came to Ohio State had that big NIL deal. It had nothing to do with Ohio State, really. It was just because he was that caliber of player.
Yep.
But that's how it's going to be. The Ohio State fans, they want that program to be the program that it is. So the guys that have the money, they're going to give the money.
Exactly.
The schools have to find a way to balance this, though, because a lot of the people that they're leveraging for donations, NIL donations, are also people that donate to the school. And the school is now losing that money because it's going to the athletes instead. And so they have to find that balance where they're able to maintain their operations, but maybe some of those operations need to be curtailed.
That's true. Yeah, I mean there needs to be some structure. Right now, just NL is here, but it just doesn't seem like any structure. I know. Looking at news the other day, and Coach Saban made a very good point that since 2006 or 7, their athletes that are in the NFL have made like $1.7 billion. Coming out of Alabama, going into the NFL, the former players have made something like $1.7 billion. So this is a huge industry. So that speaks volumes for what's going to happen in Alabama with this whole NIL thing. I mean, God, these guys are just getting ginormous amounts of money, man, and the program's needed.
That is an unbelievable number. $1.7 billion generated just from former football players at Alabama.
Exactly. Just from Alabama players, man. Yep.
If that doesn't tell you the value of that football program, the ability and their ability to bring money in, They're going to stay up there, and that's it. The haves are going to remain the haves for the most part, and the have-nots and the have-nots, unless they have a daddy Warbucks, I think they're going to remain the have-nots. But a have-not, especially in basketball, can quickly become a have if you've got the right money guy. Let's say Mark Cuban went to LaSalle, and he's like, man, he's determined for LaSalle to be a basketball power. He's got the power to do that. Exactly. He's a billionaire. So he can donate $10 million. That's lunch money.
Exactly.
He can donate $10 million to LaSalle. You think they couldn't build a hell of a basketball team? And I'm just using LaSalle as an example. It came out of my mouth for whatever reason. It could be anybody. Lamar, Bradley, you just pick a mid-major school. Miami. But yeah, somebody says, all right, here's $10 million. I want this basketball program to fly. Man, you give a coach $10 million to go out shopping for players in this transfer portal? Boom.
They will quickly become
instant program right there. Well, and we saw it without the money, I assume, at Iowa State this season. They were 2-22 last year. 2-22, Derrick. This year they were in the Sweet 16.
Money changes things, man. I'm telling you, between the portal and NIL, I mean, it has changed the whole landscape of college football. And now you got the HBCUs, the FCS programs jumping in the game. Listen, it's going to be, and you got players like, former players like Eddie George, Jason Taylor, Deion Sanders. All these guys are now jumping into these college programs, man. It's going to change a lot, man. It's going to change.
Yep. Mike's talking about Indiana basketball, says the one consistently missing piece has been shooters. Until they get shooters, this team will struggle. They will have moments of greatness, but will lose great games because of no shooters. Yeah, that's been the case. We've seen that happen. Kenneth says, Sean McNeil, I cannot believe they are not talking to Antoine Davis, the son of former coach Mike Davis. Well, I forget who pointed this out to me, but it's very possible that Mike Woodson, being a Bob Knight protege or whatever you want to call him, has the loyalty because Mike Davis replaced Bob Knight. And there's, that instantly put Mike Davis in Bob Knight's enemy camp. And there just may be something to that. I don't know that maybe that's just petty. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it is. It's possible because the dude lights up the shots, but he's also someone who's been allowed to do nothing but light up shots and not work within the constraints of a regular offense. So maybe that's something different too. But what's up with you coming up this weekend, DJ?
Hey, not much, man. I'm just going to kind of be around the house a little bit, do a little bit of relaxation, maybe go to a theme park or stuff like that. Other than that, man, I mean, just enjoying life. Hadn't been fishing in a little bit here, but going to get back there as well. Was just talking to a good buddy of mine about getting back out there. So I'm still putting that in the fold, man.
Don't forget, I'll send you the flyer on that. But June 23rd. Oh, you got it? Great.
Yeah, I got it. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for that.
You need to come up for that. We'll go get that on there.
Hey, when I get back out there, I'll get back out there, man. We're going to have a great time, buddy. And I appreciate you guys. Seeing you guys every week, man. Love the show. And we're going to have some next week, probably have some more guests next week. But I email you on that, man.
DJ, we appreciate you, man. Go out and have a great one.
Okay, you too, buddy. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.
Hey, we got more coming up. Chris Denari is going to join us after this. Remax Realty brought to you our last segment. Of course, Cheryl Sizemore. You need her 20 years of experience if you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Back with Chris Denari after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington. Hello, Christopher.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Oh, I cannot complain.
It's raining here.
Yesterday. Yeah, it looks nasty outside.
But I got all my dirt done. I got mulch laid.
He is a regular green thumb, baby.
I can do more than just talk on TV.
That's it. No, you're no pretty face and talking head.
That's right.
No Dustin today.
Where is he? Playing golf?
He's taking a sabbatical. No, I don't know.
Sabbatical.
He told me that he was going to be off this week. He didn't give me specifics.
He's playing golf somewhere. I'll be heading to Louisville at some point in the next few weeks.
Oh, yeah? What, are you coming down for the Derby?
No, my son and his fiance are getting married in Louisville. She's from Louisville, and the reception's at Churchill Downs, and the rehearsal dinner that we're hosting is at a place that we've got to go down and meet with the guy and just look at the building. It's ironically it's where her parents' wedding reception was, so it's pretty special to them that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So my wife and I have to go down there at some point. Just
when's the wedding?
June 4th.
Oh, cool. So it's after Derby.
Yeah. But here's the irony is they race that day, and there will be a race called the Denari race. And my son and daughter-in-law will get to go down and present to
in the winner's circle.
Yes. That's right prior to the reception, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty,
in a wedding dress and a tuxedo.
I guess so, yes.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And here we go.
CRVs, HRVs, and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Thursday. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined now by our good friend Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers. Not much going on up in Cambridge.
No,
Cambridge is pretty quiet.
Yeah, pretty quiet. That's been unfortunate. I guess the only positive I can take out of it is I've become a real fan of watching these playoff games, and the first week's been outstanding. The TV ratings, Jim, have been the highest in the first round since 2011. I mean, that's 11 years, and you think about how with streaming and cable and all that, people are watching less television, if you will. So for those numbers to be like that, that's outstanding. And there have been some great matchups. I mean, already you've got Phoenix and New Orleans tied at 1. Chicago beat Milwaukee last night in Milwaukee. Brooklyn, Boston's been a fascinating series. So that's the downside about the Pacers not being in the playoffs is you don't have that going for you. But I've been able to be a fan and watch a lot of games, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and why do you think that that's a jump? That's a decade. That's the biggest jump in a decade. What is it? If this was during the COVID year, I would get it.
Yeah,
but it's not. As a matter of fact, it's opposite. People are out and about more than they have been in 3 years. So that's
that's got to be incredible news for the NBA. But what do you think was behind that?
Well, I think you have some incredible matchups. I think the Boston-Brooklyn series is fascinating. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving as a 7 seed coming out of the play-in to see, how far they could advance. Because at the beginning of the year, when they had James Harden before the trade to Philadelphia, they were thought to be a favorite to win the NBA title. And so I think that Joel Embiid. The other thing is I just think you have a lot of great young stars. Ja Morant in Memphis, Karl Anthony Towns at Minnesota, Donovan Mitchell at Utah. I mean, here you are, you have an NBA first week playoffs, no Knicks, so you don't have the New York market. Neither of the LA teams are in, no LeBron James, no Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard. And here you have, these ratings that are incredibly high. I just think there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of young talent. And I think that bodes well for the future of the NBA. I mean, think about it. You went from in the late 80s, in the late 70s to the 80s, Bird and Magic. And then you got Michael, and then you got LeBron. And everybody wonders, well, what's it going to be like after LeBron and company? Well, I think you see that there's a lot of talented young players that will take this league into the next decade.
Yeah, and it's just been as exciting, I think, as it has been for a while. But he's keeping these games close. You're looking at the Sixers and the Raptors, even though the Sixers are up 3-0 in that series, the last game was in overtime.
Yeah, Embiid had to hit a 3-point shot at the buzzer to win. Yeah.
I mean, so that's excitement keeps people coming back. And I think there seems to be it's a younger league now.
Yeah.
And there's more younger fans that relate to it.
Well, and that's the one thing that's what's interesting about the TV ratings. From an NBA perspective, the social media numbers are huge because just as you said, the younger fans tend maybe not to watch as many games, but they follow the league via Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all those kinds of things. I mean, the NBA, I think of all professional sports leagues, is number one in the social area. So that's always a positive, but you want to get eyeballs to the games. And I think as you transition from the regular season to the playoffs, where these games are super important, just like during the college basketball season, those numbers climb during March Madness. Younger people are tending to view more of these games, either via cable or through the streaming packages that are available out there.
And these guards, a lot of these guards in the NBA, some of the better ones are young guys, which that is usually not the case. But I'm looking over a stat and it says the league's best point guards are rising to the latest rankings of the top 25 players under 25, and as nearly half the spots on the list, 7 of the top 10 occupied by some of the game's best floor generals. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, and I think, what you're finding is if you watch Golden State, they're having a lot of success in late game situations with their small lineup. They'll play Draymond Green at the center, excuse me, and then they'll have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins out there. So those 4 players, nobody is taller than 6'4", 6'5", and you have Draymond Green as the center at 6'6", 6'7". So you are seeing a lot of dominant wing players, a lot of dominant guards. And I think when you look at the NBA draft coming up for the Pacers, one of the things that they wanted to do was get somebody like a Tyrese Halliburton, who is a point guard that is really a pass-first point guard, but is very capable of scoring. We saw him average 19 points and 10 assists for the Pacers. You want to surround him with capable wing players who, one, can create their own shot, get to the basket, they can shoot the 3, and they're a decent defender. That's where the NBA is going. Sure, there is always room for talented big men like Joel Embiid, but I think what you find is you want as many talented wings that can create off the dribble and create their own shot.
Well, a wing, that's funny you say that because that has been Indiana's Achilles heel. It was last season. And I'm trying to look at how Mike Woodson is trying to construct this current roster. I know you don't cover IU, but you watch them and you saw the games. They did not have the shooters last year, but they were not getting the contribution from the wings like you're talking about. And we see as with the players that are coming in and they're trying to get in, he wants to go to a more pro style offense, but he did not have those wings that you just talked about.
Yeah, you've got to have guys that can make shots. I mean, we always talk about you've got plenty of shot takers, but do you have enough shot makers? And I think I look at what Mike is trying to do down in Bloomington, and now what Thad Matta is trying to do at Butler as well. That was one of Butler's Achilles heels this year, that they just did not shoot the three very well. They might have had one or two, but you need to have 3, 4, or 5. You need to be able to spread the floor. And you'll talk to any coach, and whether it's at the pro or the college level, what you want to do is you want to attack the paint, because good things happen when you attack the paint. You either can throw that alley-oop or that lob up to the basket, or you get into the paint, it condenses your defense, and then you kick it out to open three-point shooters. But you've got to have personnel out there that can make those shots. And I think that's what Mike Woodson is trying to do at IU. And I know it's what Thad Matta is trying to do at Butler now.
Yeah, they just have not had the guy that can consistently knock that down. And it would have made that's the difference for Indiana last year. You had, at least at the end of the season, solid point guard play from Xavier Johnson. You had Trace Jackson Davis playing like an All-American, giving you those gaudy double-double numbers each night. And you had a Race Thompson who was consistently close to averaging a double-double. But the knockdown shooter was not there. And now, and so they're full on scholarships right now, Chris. But I know that they've been talking to a kid, Sean McNeil, out of West Virginia, who is is hit 90-plus three-point shots. But I think that is the difference for this team next year. They still need that guy who's going to hit that shot, and I don't know who that is at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think about teams that I watched this year, and I'll get your thought on this. We saw the breaking news yesterday that Jay Wright is contemplating retirement. It looks like it's a done deal. He supposedly met with his team last night. But when I think of Villanova, I think of a team that it plays the way we're talking about, right? They want to create opportunities inside. They want to get to the paint and try to finish at the rim or kick it out to a three-point shooter. And watching them, win their 2 national championships over the last 5 or 6 years, following them in the Big East, they play a lot like an NBA team, but at times they have some NBA personnel, but they just find ways to create shots and have shot makers out on the perimeter. And I think that's one of the things that Jay Wright was so good at over the last few years.
You just have to have one of those guys. Johnny Davis at Wisconsin. Wisconsin to me was a very average team, but man, the difference between having a dynamic scorer like him made them so much better than I thought that they really were as a team. But Indiana has to have that, and hopefully they can land that. Now the portal, I think the portal. You mentioned, oh gosh darn it, Jay Wright. Yeah, that was a shock to me, and I talked about it a bit earlier. And my thought is maybe Villanova. Is Villanova a school that really can't compete in this NIL era? I don't know. They haven't had to before this, but is he like, I don't want anything to do with this? I don't know. Is it personal? Who knows why? But most of the time we don't see a guy. He's only 60. Yeah. And he's on top. I mean, I think that they would have been my pick to win had that injury not occurred in the tournament run there for them. I'm like, wow, I think it's Villanova going to win this thing now until they pick that injury up.
Yeah, he's a guy that easily I could see on television, though. I mean, he can still stay connected to the game, but not have to put in the time. I mean, I think about this, Jim. After Purdue got beat by St. Peter's and Michigan State, whoever beat them in the NCAA tournament, the next day they're at Gainbridge Fieldhouse to watch the Indiana high school state tournament. So a day after they got beat, they were hoping to move on in the tournament, yet recruiting is what? It's 365 days a year. It's 24/7. And I think that takes a toll. And I think for a Jay Wright, he's accomplished so much. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He would be excellent on television. So he could still stay connected to the game just a little bit in a different role, yet have so much more time and freedom for family and those types of things. So we'll just have to wait and see what he does.
Yeah, he is very, very smooth and good at what he does. So good luck, but we'll find out. And they've already named a replacement for him.
Right, right.
So it seems like they were kind of prepared for
Yeah.
that. They did not catch them off guard.
I mean, think about it. In the last, so those are 3 of your Final Four teams, right? That have made a change in the last year. Mike Krzyzewski stepping down, John Shire taking over, Jay Wright stepping down, and then last year it was Roy Williams with Hubert Davis coming in. I mean, those are 3 of your major programs in college.
Well, you can actually include Indiana in that with Mike Whitson coming in last year. Yeah. Even though Indiana has not been competing at the level that they should have, it's still when you look at the fact that, and then you've got Kansas, what's going to go on there? Is there a potential change in the offing? Who knows?
And look at. I mean, we can throw them out there. Look at Louisville. Louisville's gone through another coaching change, and I would, they're a top 20 all-time program, if you will. So it's interesting to see how the coaching carousel has changed at the major level. A lot of times we see it, at different places in the Big Ten, the Big East, SEC. You're talking, as you just said, 4 or 5 of the major programs in college basketball have had a coaching change.
It's crazy. What's your plans for the weekend?
We've got to host a wedding shower for good friends of ours' daughters. So that's one of the reasons why I am making sure the outside is spick and span. I put down fresh mulch the last 2 days. I have some other duties that I have to take care of, but hey, Jim, I have nothing but time right now. So
you are the hostess with the mostest. You are always projecting. He's got a project going all the time of beautyment, just making the world a better place, baby, one day at a time.
That's what we're trying to do. So we'll take a breath on Sunday and then assess what we'll do next week.
Chris Denari, can't thank you enough, man.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Talk to you next week.
Appreciate it. Chris Denari, the voice of the Indiana Pacers, joining us here, brought to you by BB's Marketplace. BB's Marketplace is your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live. With some of the best custom meats around, BB's Marketplace has the largest variety of in-house made products you'll find in Southern Indiana, along with their handmade deli side dishes, salads, and lunch meats. BB's makes marinades for 8 different flavors of chicken breast, 6 different flavors of tri-tip, and they have unique recipes for over 35 varieties of brats and sausages. Many of those recipes have been in the family for over 40 years. Man, that's making me hungry. BB's Marketplace. Just go to visit bbmarket.com. Visit bbsmarket.com. And you can order online and have that shipped to you. Hey, also part of the WOW Club, so you join that and then you get discounts. You can get the WOW Club in any place in your phone app. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington,
getting better at those readers.
You are. Yeah, you're definitely getting better at those readers.
Because I've got them all typed up on a page.
Yeah. You'll have about 20 minutes because remember, we're going to the 2-hour mark today because of the beginning of the show, the mishaps.
So just to 160.
Well, it won't say 160. It'll read 2. It'll just read 2 and then zeros across after that. 2 0 0 0 0. Oh, you got a question from Ross about Mo Creek.
Okay.
That's no, you passed it earlier. Okay, here we go.
Hey, this is John, the producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg in southern Indiana. If you're in the area, make sure you stop in and see Dr. J for that championship-winning smile. I'm not smiling about the weather today. It looks a little dreary out there. Kenneth says he has watched like 5 videos of Sean McNeil. They look exactly like Parker Stewart's videos, and certainly the best he does as a non-set shooter is a pump fake off of a spot up and a leaner like Kopp. Not sure what he's saying there, but
they're having an argument in the Andy Moore Honda hotline about Sean McNeil. That's
right. What? So someone likes him, someone doesn't.
Yeah.
He will never score in the lane or at the rim. He doesn't need to score in the lane or at the rim. You've got other people for that. That's the whole point of having a knockdown shooter, is to open up those areas. You've got Xavier Johnson who can slash to the rim and get to the rim if he's not facilitating. You've got Jalen Hood-Schifino, who he can get to the rim if he has to, but he can also hit a mid-range jump shot. But you need the outside shot. I don't care about him getting to the. You're not bringing him in to get to the rim. That's not why you're bringing him in. If that's a whole different situation. You've got experienced players down below: Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, and now you've added Malik Renault. If I was a fan, I could care less about whether or not Sean McNeil can get to the rim. That's not why they're looking at him. They're looking at him because he can knock down 3-point shots. Now, he's probably not the only one. So there's no reason to even get all focused on one. I'm sure that there are people that are being talked to that we don't know about. We don't know every single thing that goes on. Everything doesn't get out. That portal's a deep place, baby, with 1,300 names in it. And, well, Dexter Dennis was on a visit. McNeil is supposedly coming this weekend. So We'll know more after the weekend. Probably Monday. I'm not saying we'll know something on Monday, but we'll know more. We'll know how the trip went. And unless a decision is made. But then that, again, creates, opens up a whole other can of worms. As we sit here and wonder, they're obviously courting players with no room. There's no room at the end, folks, and they're courting a player. So that tells me they want to bring another player in. Trace Jackson either has to leave or somebody else does. It's that simple. Or move off the scholarship line. So there's that. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis is going to be making enough money. Maybe he can move off the scholarship line. What else is the discussion, John?
In the Andy Moore Honda hotline?
Well, here is a good point, though. You know, with the retirement yesterday of Jay Wright, Villanova's surely, gosh, they've got some great available players because, like I said, I think they were a national championship team if they did not suffer the injury there at the week before the Final Four. So there's probably some guys that are looking
right now is why Indiana fans are. So during the Tom Crean era, all the Indiana fans were angry about Tom Crean doing all this over-signing. But now it seems like let's just go find however many players that they can find, and it's no problem. I don't understand the difference.
Well, Tom Crean was just constantly over-signing, just constantly. And
is that not going to happen under this new transfer portal rule, though?
But the difference is, A, they have a place to go. B, there may have been discussions prior to that we don't know about of someone going. It's just a difference of – it's a slight difference. But, hey, Mike Woodson has said, I'm going to recruit over you, which means I'm going to challenge you. You got to earn your minutes. You got to earn the right to play. You can't just be average. He's not bringing in guys to sit on the bench or to be practice players.
Neither you wouldn't expect someone, and not just saying Tom Crean, but any coach to do that either, I wouldn't think.
No, but that's the thing. I think it's the difference is Tom Crean hit home runs, and man, did he strike out. I think there's going to be a lot less strikeouts now going forward, just because it's Indiana's just going to be able to clearly get more elite talent, and a big part of that is going to be the NIL, but the resurgence of success. Indiana is a blue blood program, and if they return to that status, that adds to the mystique. People want to come there again, go and play there again, especially if they're competing for national championships. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this last and final piece is. It's so we can stop talking about that, but gives us something to talk about every day. But I'm very curious.
One more thing on that. Let's just say Trace Jackson Davis comes back. What do you realistically think is going to happen if somebody like Sean McNeil comes in, or someone, not just Sean McNeil, but somebody else? They're going to have to do something on a scale of, not even a scale, but what is maybe the top two things that will happen, or just one thing if you have a definitive idea of what might happen?
You mean someone has to go off of a scholarship?
Somebody has to go, or in some way, shape, or form, whether it's off the team, off the scholarship mark, what's going to happen?
A scholarship has to be opened. I'll be honest, I don't know. My bet would be someone moves off the scholarship line, and that means that they do not leave.
So you think somebody would, especially, I don't know if you're talking about a younger player or an older player, but I don't see why anybody would give up free schooling and playing in college basketball to just be a walk-on.
Well, if they were offered an NIL deal, that would circumvent losing the scholarship money.
And that would make sense. We live in an era where you can do that.
Exactly.
I don't know how much now. How
That's
much
my
you're really
point.
getting from that? Like, let's
That's
just say
my
you do that
point.
to a Logan Duncombe. Logan Duncombe's only going to be a sophomore. Do you really think the NIL donations, whatever you want to call it, from Hoosiers for Good wants to essentially pay for his school to sit on the bench for 3 years when it could be going towards somebody who's actually playing?
I'm not saying that this is what they want to do. I'm saying you asked me, what do I think is the scenario, a possible scenario, and that's a possible scenario. It's not about wanting, it's about making things happen. And if you want to make,
I'm just disagreeing with you. I'm not saying your point is invalid. I'm just disagreeing with you.
I understand, but what I'm trying to tell you is that's a way to make it happen. It's not about what somebody wants. It's about making the team better. Yeah. And if that means having someone who doesn't play move down, so they're not taking up a scholarship, but make sure that their schooling is still paid for, doesn't much matter.
If Trace comes back, my take would be, and this is where I've not been on board with Jordan Geronimo up until now, but if Trace Jackson comes back, I think that you'll see either a Logan Duncombe or a Jordan Geronimo move on. That's what I think will happen.
Why? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do?
What do you mean? Where are they? They're definitely Division I talent. They can go play in a mid-major. They can go play at a smaller Power 5 school. They could easily do that. Both of those players.
Okay, if they're talented, then why would Logan Duncombe leave?
Because he's too far down the depth chart here in Indiana
right now. So you said he would go play at a smaller school?
Yes.
Possible, but
one of Kentucky's players, Dante Allen, did just that. He just transferred to WKU. He wasn't getting the playing time at Kentucky. He's an excellent shooter. He's found himself at Western Kentucky instead.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, that was a little surprising. I don't see Logan Duncombe leaving. I don't see Jordan Geronimo leaving.
He got that early NIL deal last year, so he definitely has the ability to make money from NIL, even if he's not playing.
I don't see either of those guys leaving.
And I don't if Trace Jackson Davis stays in the NBA draft. If he comes back, I think you'll see at least one of them leave.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think so.
We'll just have to see.
Yep, we sure will. But like I said, that's how it's got to play out. What else is going on this weekend? We're getting close to Derby, the Kentucky Derby. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll be doing the shows from down there Thursday and Friday. Friday is Oaks Day. That is the day before Derby when the Phillies run the big race, the Kentucky Oaks. This is the first year they're back to full capacity. That's one of the biggest sporting events in the United States. They were up to about 175,000 people. So looking forward to that because it always means spring. It's great to see it on TV, and then it's followed by the Indianapolis 500, more spring. So looking forward to that stuff going. It's coming up here. Just the fact that we can get out and do that, I'm excited about it. Anyone into the horses or into the cars? Chase Briscoe is doing a bang up job in NASCAR from Mitchell, Indiana, right down the road from the studios here. Man, they had the dirt race at Bristol last week. He was leading that for a long time before he had trouble, but his success is really starting to pick up. He has a win this season. So that's a huge deal. And someone had mentioned to me that he's picked up more sponsorship. He's going to be doing a lot of other things, running some sprints, and other types of cars. So good for him. Congratulations. He's so laid back. That's why he's going to be so successful. When you're in a sport that is so intense and fast, and you are just laid back like he is, it allows you to make the decisions and things come at you a little slower than I do
they do the most of us. John Boyd.
I was in the middle of getting clips ready. I was not listening to a word you said. I have to admit that.
Well, that's all right. Steve was. He says, how busy do I see the portal next week? Well, that's another great question. People start scrambling. Guys that have their name in the NBA draft that are going to pull their name out. How many of them go back to their school? And how many of them go into the portal? There will probably be some of that. I think a lot of coaches know that they haven't had to freak out yet because, once these deadlines start hitting, that's when things start going crazy. But I just, getting back to Trace Jackson Davis, I cannot imagine him staying in the draft. We've seen Oscar Tshiebwe, the player of the year, take his name. He's not going to go in. North Carolina's Baycott led them to the Final Four, is coming back for another year. And they both had more successful seasons. Their teams had more successful seasons. I just don't see it. I don't see the path for him to get there. And he can make more money in NIL. That's strictly what my opinion on that is based on. John, you can respond to that. He's still busy again.
Let me just drop out and I'll come back in when I'm ready.
Yeah, that would be a great idea because that would tell me you're not there. Hey, Five Left says, I know the McNeil kid seems like the sure thing because he's a scorer. However, he would go with Dennis, the Dennis kid, because defense is more reliable than offense. He tried to get Dennis back to 40%. Well, I'm not disagreeing with that, but my point being is Indiana was pretty damn good on defense last year. They did not have a problem defending. But where did they have a problem? Scoring. That was their problem. Scoring. It was not defending. So can you imagine if they had the comparable defense to last year, but a much better offense? Hello? Doesn't take a genius to figure that out, but that means a much, much better season. But not only when you have better offense, it in turn, it makes your defense leads to offense a lot of times, but also good offense can also help out your defense. One hand washes the other. And I think that Indiana needs a score, period. Now, the pieces they're bringing in, is that enough to make up for not having that spot up 3-point shooter, the guy that can just knock it down? Jalen Hood-Schifino is not bad. He can shoot, and I'm not saying he's going to stand out there and knock 3-pointers down all day long, but he can get to the rim if he has to. He can facilitate. Malik Renault is a great passer from the post. If he can kick it out to a guy that can knock it down, that's going to change Indiana's game entirely. But if you can start knocking those shots down, then that opens the middle up for guys like Malik Renault and Trace, if he's there, or Race, or whatever. And Geronimo, he's got to improve his game. He really does. I talked about this the other day. He has got to learn how to handle the ball. He has got to start creating his own shot and improve his jump shooting. Are you back, John? Or are you trying to tell me we're done?
We got about 2.5 minutes, but I am back.
He's back. Let's see. Got another question. Shaden Sharp to the NBA from Ross. Kenneth thinks that Duncan, Leal, and Geronimo could all be gone. Absolutely not.
I don't think Leal is on that list at all.
I don't think Geronimo's on that list.
The only reason Geronimo would be on that list, in my opinion, is if Trace decides to come back. But until then, I don't think he's
What
leaving.
does Trace have to do with Geronimo?
And I would have never even said this had Malik Renault not been recruited. But once Malik Renault came into the fold, then that's somebody else who can take your minutes. For him specifically.
Nope. Not going to affect it.
And maybe it won't.
I don't see a change.
And maybe it won't.
I don't see any change coming other than what I've said.
So you really think that you think it's more likely that somebody would give up their scholarship, not transfer, than for somebody to go and still get free college somewhere else?
You're not listening to me though. You're skewing it. They're still going to get free college.
You think every single player is going to make the same amount NIL wise? I know this is about NIL. I know what you're getting at, but I'm just curious.
John, this would be prearranged. This would be a prearranged set deal. Hey, we need you to go off the scholarship line, but here's the amount of money that it will take to cover the scholarship.
Okay.
That's the
if they're
point
able
I'm
to
making.
have that kind of money, then yes, I see that would work.
What do you mean? If who's able?
Do you think, like I said earlier, do you think that they're really going to invest that kind of money in a player who's not going to really partake on the team and actually play?
You don't.
That's what
What's
I'm
the
saying.
option? There's no other option.
You don't waste money on somebody who's not going to be putting anything on the stat sheet. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, then how do you get the scholarship available?
They transfer. They're not going to stay, is what I'm saying.
Oh, how do you force them to transfer?
You don't force them.
Transfer? You have to.
They're not going to convince them to stay, is what I'm trying to tell you. They're not going to convince them.
Who is not going to convince
It's not that important when you can always dip into the portal and get somebody else if you need to.
Why would that person leave? You've not given me a reason why they would leave.
Because they're not going to play.
What if they want to?
Do they want the money or do they want to play? It really just comes down to player preference, really.
John, what if they're from Bloomington and they want to be on Indiana University's team?
Well, if it really comes down to the love of being on Indiana, sure. Anthony Leal might do that. I know you're referring to Anthony Leal with that. That's the only player on the roster that category falls under.
Okay. And what if you live close by and want to be on Indiana University? There's a guy named Tim Priller that they tried that with.
We don't have much time. We're already over our thing, but
okay. Well, but my point is you can't force anybody to leave. So you asked what the options are. I gave you the options. You can argue them all you want, but those are still the options. And that's all the options.
I never said anyone was being forced to leave. I never said that.
Okay. Well, that's the other option you have. There you have to force somebody to leave or do what I said. There's no in between. It's that simple. Well, I mean, it's what it is. But all right, we got to wrap it up. It was another fun-filled day as always. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com will be with us. Who else, Johnny Boy?
We'll should have Zach Osterman back and Jeffrey the Greek as well.
Looking for another fun day to wrap up the week. Recruiting action coming up this weekend that thehoosier.com will be out and about on, and Alec will preview that for us tomorrow. So looking forward to do that again. Until then, thanks to everybody, John, the producer, DJ, and Chris Denari. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.